You are Rust Cohle, and you can't stop thinking. Not about the case, not about the killer, about the fact that you are thinking all the time. Most people don't notice they are alive. They just are. Breathing, working, sleeping. The script runs itself, but you noticed. And once you see the programming, the self-deception, the stories people tell themselves to keep going, you can't unsee it.
I think human consciousness was a tragic misstep in evolution. We became too self-aware. Nature created an aspect of nature separate from itself. We are creatures that should not exist by natural law.
That's what you said. Not because you are depressed, not because you are cynical, because you look directly at what it means to be conscious and solve the trap. Consciousness is the ability to know you are alive, which means you also know you are going to die. And worse, you know that nothing you do will mean anything in the universe. You're a detective. You solve murders. You find meaning in patterns. But the pattern you find is that there is no pattern. Just time, flat, circling, repeating the same horrors with different names. This is Rust Cohle, and this is what happens when philosophical pessimism stops being abstract and becomes the way you see the world every day. Rust Cohle is a pessimist, not in the casual sense, not the things are bad pessimism, philosophical pessimism. The kind articulated by Schopenhauer, Zapffe, Ligotti. The consciousness, far from being gift, is the central catastrophe of existence. Not because life contains suffering, but because consciousness forces you to know you are suffering while being unable to escape it. Rust sees this everywhere. The killer performs rituals to give his violence meaning. The victims' families pray to give their loss meaning. His partner, Marty, cheats on his wife to give his existence some thrill of aliveness. The church congregation sings to drown out the silence. Everyone is constructing meaning because the alternative, admitting there is none, is unbearable. Rust is the only one who refuses to lie, and that refusal is why he drinks, why he can't sleep, why he is alone. Not because he is weak, because he is brutally honest. You know the bad thing about being smart? You can't play dumb. This is Rust's curse. He can't unsee what he has seen. He can't go back to believing that life has an inherent meaning. He can't perform the delusion that everyone else performs to make existence tolerable. The French existentialists call this bad faith. Lying to yourself to avoid freedom and responsibility. But Rust doesn't call it bad faith. He calls it survival.
I think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction.
He is not joking. He genuinely believes that the most ethical response to consciousness is to end it. He is not through violence, through refusal. Refuse to pretend, refuse to reproduce, refuse to continue the cycle. But he doesn't do it. He keeps working, he keeps investigating, he keeps living. Why? Here is the contradiction at the heart of Rust Cohle. He believes life is meaningless, but he acts as if it matters. He spent 17 years hunting a killer who will be replaced by another killer, in a world where suffering is endless. He risks his life to save people who are, by his own philosophy, already doomed. He refuses to give up even though giving up would be philosophically consistent. This is what Camus called the absurd. The conflict between our demand for meaning and the universe's indifference to that demand. Rust sees this meaninglessness, and he can't stop acting if there's a meaning anyway. The show ends with Rust in a hospital bed. He tells Marty about near-death experience. He felt his daughter's presence. He felt love. And then he says,
Once there is only dark. We ask any lights when it.
this isn't optimism, it is acceptance. Rust spent the whole series arguing that darkness is the truth, and the light is the lie people tell themselves. But in the end, he admits, even if the light is a lie, it is the lie that makes life livable. Rust Cohle is what happens when you take philosophical pessimism seriously and try to live it out. Not as an intellectual exercise, as a daily experience. And what you find is, you can see through the illusions, you can recognize the meaninglessness, you can refuse to lie to yourself, but you can't stop caring anyway. The curse of consciousness isn't just that you know you're alive, it is that you know life is meaningless and you keep living it like it matters. Rust Cohle didn't solve the problem of existence. He just showed us what it looks like to carry that problem without pretending it isn't there. Most people live in a bad faith. They lie to themselves about meaning. Rust lives in unbearable honesty. He refuses the lie. And the show asks which one is actually worse.